Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope everyone is doing well, and for all of you in those freezing cold areas like me, I hope you're keeping warm. There's that big storm that's coming Saturday for a lot of us on the East Coast, but particularly for us New Englanders. But this weekend is my birthday, and if everything goes as planned, I will be in a tropical paradise and I'll be missing it. For everyone that's been asking about Annie, when I did my Raha channeling for the members last night, I did bring her out and she got to say hi to everyone, and she's doing well. You know, she has 2 viruses, but they're really not going to go anywhere. Apparently they were laying dormant this whole time, and something that she probably had as a kitten, they believe. And, you know, that tooth infection that she got over the summer around July, I think, kind of just broke it loose. And so, you know, we've been dealing with all of that, but she's stable and she's doing okay. And when I go away, my brother takes care of her. So that's a good thing. In this video today, we're going to be looking at the timeline of all of the legal proceedings surrounding 45. Starting with January 31st, and I'll go right through till May 2nd, because there's just so many to go through. And that's what I told you all, is that there's going to be a point where you just get sick of hearing about all of these court cases. And so I could keep going. I mean, I could make this video hours and hours long if I wanted to, but I will keep it between that time frame of just those few months. We can do another video going further out. And members, even though I'm going away, you will be just getting your videos sooner than later. That's all. So instead of getting them on Friday, you'll have them by the time this video is released. So, all right, everyone. So the first thing that's coming up, January 31st, in Manhattan, 45's organizations, well, he was their CFO, Alan Weisselberg, is going to be on trial. That's all coming to a head on that day. And it has to do with dodging millions of dollars in taxes. So let's see what comes out of that. How Mr. Weisselberg is going to do, and 45's organization. I'm still getting asked how to join membership. I still don't know how else to explain it other than it's through my YouTube homepage. Some people are asking me if they can join through Facebook or my website, and no, it's a YouTube membership. And so you sign up through YouTube and you get those 12 courses. Look at the playlist, they're all there. Plus all the lives that I do. You know, like this week, depending upon your level of membership, you know, you got 5 videos, 2 lives and 3 videos. So, you know, it's a lot of content. So, you know, just take a look at my homepage. Okay, so what do we need to know about that day? Let's take a look. Okay, so this has to do with relationships. We get the Lover's card. So this is Weisselberg's relationship to 45. That's what's at the heart of this matter. No surprise, is it? The obstacle, well, this is one of, you know, my cards for 45, right? You know, he does like to see himself as being the King of Pentacles for sure. And it's coming up in the obstacle position of the relationship. So it's going to be problematic for Weisselberg, this relationship. The outcome, this is my card for a legal battle. You know, here's the Page of Swords. So this is news that we're going to hear. And like I told you, we're going to start hearing some things. We're not going to hear everything, but we're going to start hearing some things. And, you know, this has to do with a legal battle, and he's holding the sword of truth. And why is it the sword of truth? Well, because it's double-sided. It's fair, it's balanced, it's ethical, it's moral, okay? And it has to do with, oh, here's another page. So we get 2 pages. So there's a lot that we're going to be hearing. And what does it have to do with? Money. And so the whole premise of this is millions of dollars, you know, weren't given in taxes the way it was supposed to. So we're going to be hearing about it. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a female judge. But once again, we have the sword of truth coming out. So here we are. at the heart of the matter, it still has to do with relationships. And where it's an ace, aces are new beginnings, this could have to do with Weisselberg completely flipping, or it could also have to do with relationships that we don't even know existed. And so we might be getting a lot of news about that. So let me pull one more. This has to do with a lot of money. So there, we're not talking about a small amount. So this whole thing has to do with their relationship, and all this information is coming out. And let's see what kind of resolution it's going to have. So a lot of things that are unknown will be now known. And I think that's why we got 2 pages. And this creates a tower moment. Okay, so this is going to be a real tower moment for 45's organization and for Alan Weisselberg. So, the thing is, if the organization was built on a sturdier foundation, it could withstand the lightning strike. But where it's not, everything comes crashing down. And so I don't think it's going to be a good day for either of those men. So on February 4th, Biden's administration has to have some sort of response ready. That's the date that they were given about the possible proceedings, because 45 has a choice here. He can either kind of keep going with his legal battles of turning over White House documents to the Biden administration, or he can just say, okay, and give up. And so the Biden administration, said, okay, well, we'll give it until the 4th of February. And so it's the White House documents going to the January 6th committee. And so 45 has that option of whether he's going to pursue it or not pursue it legally. So let's take a look at what happens. And I think Biden was correct in, his administration was correct in asking for more time. Let things play out. Let everything play out. Things will always happen the way they should. And so let it play out. And let's see what's the energy around that date. It's hard to believe that we're almost in February, isn't it? Unbelievable. Okay. Oh, isn't that funny? I mean, I just shuffled the cards and I get, okay, so this has to do with relationships again. And I gave the cards a good shuffle, and you saw the way I put them back. I put them back staggered like I always do. So once again, I think what's going to really harm 45 and those around him are these relationships. And the obstacle is, I think 45 is feeling like he's on this hill, he's battling everything. He's really at this turning point where everything is coming to a head. Here's one of my cards for the US, the Empress card. She's also a card of abundance and fertility. And so the seeds that have been planted, well, they're coming to fruition. So once again, we're going to be learning about things, and it's going to have to do with finances, with money, which is kind of at the heart of everything, especially when it seems like when I read on these politicians, right? It seems like it's just always at the heart of these things. And it does have to do with money and the action that the money took, what the money created around January 6th. And that's what's in a lot of these documents. It has to do with money that was spent to create January 6th. And another night, things are going to be moving swiftly. So out of all the nights, he is like one of the fastest, right? He is running, he's going, and he's holding up the sword of truth. 45 does not like any of his options. He does not like any of his options because he doesn't want to reveal anything about the finances. So it's interesting how it comes right back to finances, but he's going to have to give it up and kind of walk away. And just let things play out. I think he's gone about as far as he can. I don't see him going any much further with this. So no matter what he decides, ultimately the documents will be given up. And, and so many of them already have. And, I know he's trying to protect them, and, the Supreme Court has made their rulings on many of this. So, it's going to play out the way it's going to play out. But I think they're, everything's coming out, and I think 45 is panicking. Okay, so February 7th, a D.C. court, Washington, D.C. court, is having a hearing from the Washington, D.C. Attorney General's lawsuit against 45's inaugural committee. Now, parts of it have been dismissed, okay? Some parts about that inaugural committee has been dismissed, so they're not up for talking about. But the part that is still at play is the illegal misuse of funds. And so we know that's a big problem with inaugurations, right? And with campaigns and all that stuff. And so let's see how that's going to play out in this DC courtroom. Let's see how, the Attorney General fares. Okay, so clearly 45 and those on the inaugural committee want to go to smoother waters. They don't want any of this to happen. This is not in their best interest. But here we go. Here's, our little Russian friend stealing 5 of the 7 swords and trying to get away with it. And so the obstacle is they're trying to get away with something, which tells me, okay, well, something did indeed happen. There was indeed a misuse of funds, which is why they're trying to get away with it. My card for a legal battle. Okay, so here is the Page of Swords. He's holding up the Sword of Truth. And, he is right there ready to fight this battle. So that tells me this isn't going anywhere. It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen as fast as we want. So this one's going to drag out, folks. Here's the Hanged Man. We know that when he shows up that things are pretty slow. However, this is a real turning point. And so, this is where 45 and those involved in the inaugural committee start to come into their karmic destiny and fate. And the truth comes out. Here's the Sword of Truth, Ace of Swords. And so the truth comes out. And so I'm going to say this is not going to be favorable for 45's inaugural committee. I think it's going to be favorable for the Attorney General. Okay, so March 29th, Joel Greenberg, someone that we haven't talked about in a long time. He's a former associate of Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is a representative from Florida, you may remember. And, Gaetz has already pled guilty to several charges in sex trafficking. And this person, this Joel Greenberg, could be a key witness. And so this is problematic for Gaetz, for sure. But this is when Greenberg is going to court. And let's see what happens to Greenberg, because partially what happens to Greenberg affects Gaetz. Just want to give them a really good shuffle here. Okay. Okay, so one of my cards for the U.S., so, my 2 cards are this one and the Empress. And so, this tells me that, first of all, this is a very American situation. But, trafficking also affects everybody. We've had this conversation that it's not unique to any one country or culture or race or even gender. Trafficking is a problem. But right now we're talking about a U.S. case and about how it's going to be balanced. She has 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the grass. So this is going to really balance things out. And it's going to have to do with, money that was misused, used for heinous things. And it comes up as the obstacle. And it also makes me feel like where, the King of Pentacles is the obstacle, that Greenberg is not as balanced and as grounded as he could be, because, you know, out of all the kings, he's the one that's the most grounded and balanced. And so it makes me feel like he's not as grounded and as balanced as he can be. Like he's off his game, and he's not getting any support. Here he is, the hermit, all by himself. And we are also going to be learning a lot. We know that when the hermit comes up, we learn things. So we're going to be learning a lot, and he's not going to be getting a lot of the support that he thought he was going to be getting. And where is he not getting the support? Well, the courtroom. You know, the Hierophant's a very official card and can be certainly a judicial or governmental type card. So not good news for him. He's going to feel embattled, and he's going to do his best to persevere, but he is going to be put through a lot. And so this makes me feel like this is, I'll pull one more card, that this is going to be really difficult on him. And this starts a whole new phase of his life. And so when you're asking about a court case where he's embattled and, you know, illegal things are happening with money, not good news. Not good news. So I think this is going to be a very bad day, not just for Greenberg, but also for Gates. So on April 4th, we have a second special grand jury impaneled by the Manhattan DA. And and this is probably one of the more interesting cases. And it has to do about the criminal investigation into 45's organization's finances. And it's set to wrap up by that date, whether to indict 45 or not. So this is a really important date that's coming up. And that was what, April 4th. So just right around the corner. So let's take a look and see how this one is going to pan out. Because that is a big decision. And to indict a former president is, well, that's rather unprecedented, isn't it? And so there's an awful lot at stake. There's a lot, you know, going on with this case, that's for sure. But it's a criminal investigation. So okay. I really don't think it's going to go well for 45. I really don't get the feeling it is. Okay, so we get the World card. So one phase of his life has ended. This is about cycles ending and a new one beginning. And so when you look at the obstacle, and, you know, sometimes, like I tell you, cards have levels, right? There's levels, there's layers. And what's the obstacle? He acted foolishly. I think he got a bit overconfident, rather bombastic, and did a lot of things that he is going to be kicking himself for, because it's a criminal investigation. And much like the last case with Greenberg, not getting any support, but there is so much for us to learn. And so here he is by himself, and then we start finding things out. You know, here comes the false knight, you know, with his false offers, a mercenary, if you will. And so not great. Also getting my card for him. So this is one of my cards for 45. So, you know, this also has, because I have a couple of cards for him. And so we know that this has to do with finances in particular. Out of everything he could have, you know, been accused of or done, this particularly has to do with money. And it's going to be stalled. Again, it's going to be stalled. We keep getting this again and again. And so it's not going to go as fast as we like, but it'll at least, you know, start to wrap up, you know, so the indictment will not probably happen then on that date, but it's coming. But then I get another card that is so slow moving, right? I mean, this card has no movement whatsoever to it. So, you know, hang in there, because it will go back to court. So we'll hear something, and, you know, it'll get wrapped up. And then, yeah, I don't think it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of bickering, a lot of conflicted people going back and forth on this one. But ultimately, you know, here's 45, you know, feeling like he has the 10 swords in his back. So we can kind of see how this is going to go. And like I said, I don't see this going well. I don't see this going in his favor at all. So So let's finish it up with May 2nd. That's when the jury selection begins for a trial of, there's a group, I don't know if you know this, but there's a group, it's a civil lawsuit, by the way. The last one we just talked about was criminal. This one's civil. A group of protesters, they were outside of 45's tower, and they were protesting him. And his bodyguards roughed up and injured some of them. And so they sued in 2015, saying, you know, his security guards roughed them up outside of Trump Tower. And interestingly enough, what we're going to get out of that is that apparently there's a video that's already been made of 45 giving a deposition. So that's rather interesting, because we know that he doesn't like to commit to things, particularly in that kind of fashion, because that's a little hard to get out of. So whatever he said, he said. So let's take a look at that case with these protesters. And then we'll finish it up with doing a 3-card pull, okay? Because I like to end on a high note, because some of this can be so, you know, heavy. And, you know, it's important to know what's going on in the news, but it's also important not to dwell on it. You know, once you know, and then move on and do something that's high vibrational. Do something that you enjoy. You know, go meditate, go for a walk in nature. Do something that you enjoy doing just because you enjoy doing it. You know, it's okay to do things for pleasure, things that you enjoy. You know, it's part of self-care. And I know some of you get a little bit too wrapped up in it, and then you start to get like kind of down in the dumps. And, you know, it's important to put everything in its place. You know, the news is interesting, but you can't dwell on it at the same time. Okay. So lots of indecisions about this. Okay, so this one is really up in the air at the moment. That tells me, okay, this can kind of go in a lot of different directions. The obstacle is that these protesters' strength and courage and patience is being tested. It's really, well, I mean, it's been since 2015, right? You know, so that's a long time to sort of be living any sort of case, right? So that's a long time. A lot of stress, worry, and anxiety. And I really think because it's piling on 45, because I mean, we only covered a snippet of some of the trials, right? He's really starting to feel it. If this was the only case he had going on, he probably wouldn't care, but it's not. And so it's going to, this is interesting. The protesters are going to be rather emotional. There's a lot of emotions to this one. You know, because out of all the kings, the King of Cups is the one that has all the emotions, right? I mean, water in tarot has to do with emotions. And so this is a real emotional issue. So some of these people, I am starting to think, may have like PTSD, but it is certainly, oh, this is interesting. Okay, let me show you what the cards are saying. So it's certainly going to court, okay? King of Swords. It's certainly going to court. It's going before a judge. But I get the Hanged Man, which we all know slows things down. And I'm like, okay, well, why is it being slowed down? I mean, to me, this one seems a bit more black and white. Possibly something to do with the pandemic, because this is my card for the pandemic, for the virus. And so it may get delayed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one ends up getting delayed due to the pandemic. So, all right, let's end on a good note. I have the fairy cards here by Radley Valentine. I'm going to give them a shuffle, and you can pick out one that resonates with you, just using your intuition, your gut instinct. Oh, well, that one flew out, so I'm going to take the one that flew out. Okay. Okay, so I have 3 cards here, and just center yourself, take a deep breath, and see which one you feel drawn to. 1, 2, or 3. Don't think about it. Just go with your gut. Here we go. Here's one. 2 of Summer. This is the one that went flying out. And it says, falling in love or making a serious commitment to someone, forgiveness and the resolution of a problem. Don't give up your relationship. Don't give up. Your relationship can be healed. So this one is talking all about relationships. And so if you've been having difficulties with somebody, whether it's a romantic relationship or it's family, it's work, give it a little time. Don't give up on it. It's saying forgiveness can go a long ways and it'll be resolved is the most important part. 2 is 7 of Autumn, kind of a cute one. And it says, have patience and don't worry. Take time to rest and plan your next steps. A prudent investment of time or money. So, stop worrying so much. Stop stressing out so much. Come up with a plan, make a decision, figure out what you're going to do next, and then have a little patience, because sometimes when you're trying to manifest something, certain things have to happen first. And so it takes a little bit of time. And then 3 is 9 of Spring. And it says, protect the fruits of your labors. Prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. Environmental conservation. So this one, if you're one of my environmentalists, this, obviously came up for you. But this also is saying, sometimes we go through bumps in life, right? There could be a bump in the road that's coming up, and just be prepared. What's that saying? To be forewarned is to be forearmed. And that's how I look at tarot and doing readings, is that they're not always going to be rosy, cheery, and perfect, but they can give you warnings and say, okay, look, get ready, because there's going to be a little bump, because it's not saying like, this isn't like a tower card or anything like that, just a little bump, and, just be prepared for it and everything will be fine. So, all right, everyone, it was a pleasure making this video for you. I hope you all have a beautiful weekend and everybody stays warm that's in the path of that storm. And I will see you in a few days. Bye, everyone.